Veterans, should you withdraw your pending claims once you achieve 100% permanent and total? In today's video, I'm going to give you some reasons to think about before you withdraw those pending claims once you receive your 100% permanent and total. Make sure you stick around. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. Before I get into today's video, make sure you go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and notification button. Also, don't forget to pick up a copy of my new book, The VA Compensation Blueprint. It's time to win. With this book, I am leveling the VA compensation playing field. Today's video. Should you withdraw any pending claims once you achieve 100% permanent and total? A lot of veterans do that, which is nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to give you some reasons to think about maybe not withdrawing those claims. But keep in mind, this is your claim. You have to do what you feel you have to do. Let's get into it. Reason number one. Here in reason number one, additional back pay from effective dates, claim conditions still on books. What I mean by that is you receive 100% permanent total, okay? You have, let's say, 3 or 4 conditions still on the books. In that notification letter, the rating decision and the rating decision code sheet, I have a video where I'm talking about the notification letter, rating decision, and a separate video about what is a rating code sheet. They all list the effective date for that 100%. So you could have an appeal pending, an appeal that's something that's been on appeal for 3 or 4 years or whatever. You obtain service connection at a compensable degree or higher, meaning 10% or higher. I have a YouTube short on that. And that effective date goes beyond that effective date for 100%. If your overall percentage at that point in the past goes up, you are entitled to back pay. Okay? Now, again, this is your claim. You need to know exactly what's going on with it as it pertains to effective dates. Did you do an intent to file? Did you get denied? Did you continuously pursue your claim and did not let 365 days lapse from the notification of that denial? And again, maybe you had a high-level review. These are things that you have to know about your claim if you decide not to withdraw those claims once you receive 100% permanent total status. Let's keep going. Reason number 2, future rating protection if certain conditions are reduced, okay? Now, can the VA reduce you down the road? Yeah, okay, I've seen it happen. CUE's been called, okay? But if you have pending claims, they decide to do that, and again, you are service connected for those pending claims at a compensable degree, 10% or higher, yeah, they go ahead and reduce it. But if those pending claims keep you at 95% or higher, they cannot take away that P&T status, okay? And again, people, this is about being educated. When you come over here to my channel, that's exactly what I'm doing, is educating you on this process. So you don't want to be that veteran that, hey, you get a reduction or something happens and they take away that 100%, okay? Reason number 3. Special monthly compensation eligibility opportunities. Okay, so I have a couple of videos where I'm talking about SMC-K, SMC-S, and SMC-L. Let me give you an example. When you get paid SMCs for SMC, it's on top of your overall percentage, okay? So let's say you get 100% permanent total. One of those conditions, let's say PTSD, you get at 100%. you should know for SMCS, you need one disability at 100% and other disabilities totaling 60% or higher. So in this example, you have PTSD at 100%. And let's say maybe you have 50% for migraines and maybe 0% for the back. But you have a pending claim for increase for the back. And it goes from 0 to 20%. Now you have additional disabilities totaling 60% or higher. Okay? Now you are entitled to SMCS per scheduler. And that's an additional few $100 a month on top of the 100%. If you withdraw that claim for increase for the back in this example, then you don't meet the scheduler criteria for SMCS. So again, people, you have to understand this process, but more so what it is you're doing and what VA regulations can impact what you're doing with your claim. Okay, let's keep going. Reason number 4, quality review error protection. I think I have a video explaining the quality review team, okay, QRT. When I rated, they pulled every month 5 ratings that I did, okay? I don't know what the requirement is now. I would have to reach out to a rater to see if it's still 5. But when I rated, they were like 6 months behind. So it could be June and they could be pulling ratings I did like back in February, okay? So let's say they do that. I granted a veteran 100% permanent total status, right? But they had pending claims. And they say, Dwayne, we found an error. You shouldn't have granted the veteran benefits based off of whatever reason, okay? And that moves that veteran from 95% down to 93%. Now I have to propose to sever the P&T status and reduce to 100%, okay? But if the veteran has pending claims, and I've had this happen before as a rater, there's pending claims. Oh, we had to grant the veteran 50% for migraines. We had to grant the veteran 10% for tinnitus. We had to grant the vet left shoulder condition at 20%. So I'm not going to do a proposal to reduce that 100%. I'm not going to even do a proposal to sever for P&T. That's going to stay intact. I am going to do a reduction for whatever condition or error that the quality review team found, but then I'm going to grant service connection for those other conditions that were pending, which will keep the veteran at 100% P&T. All right, let's keep going. This is the final one. Reason number 5, future law changes and DIC benefits. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. A veteran, a Vietnam veteran, okay, Vietnam veteran. Before the VA started to recognize blue water, meaning veterans, Navy veterans that were on ships off the shore of Vietnam, they could not get service connection under 38 CFR 3.309 subpart E, tropical diseases, presumptives, okay? But then they enacted blue water. So let's say the veteran was denied for diabetes before they enacted blue water. And then blue water is enacted and they say, now you're eligible for diabetes as a presumptive. The veteran comes back in, claims it, and wins. Okay? Now the veteran's spouse can obtain DIC if they pass away from that condition. Also, I have a video where I'm explaining the criteria for DIC 10 years if they're service-connected, if they pass away from a service-connected condition. So that gives that veteran spouse another opportunity if they pass away from that condition. Let's say the 100% hasn't been in effect 10 years, okay? So These are some things that you need to be thinking about before you withdraw that claim. If that was confusing for you, go back and watch this video again. But at the end of the day, this is your claim. Think about it. Should you withdraw those pending claims if you achieve 100% permanent total? Think about some of those reasons I gave you, okay? If at the end of the day you say, you know what, I don't qualify for this, I'm not going to qualify for that, it's not going to change the trajectory of my claim either now or years down the road, then yeah, by all means, withdraw the claim. But what I want you to understand, think about some of these reasons I've given you before you withdraw that claim. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and as always, share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.